It's not missiles or sanctions, but soybeans. China is quietly hitting one of America's most vulnerable pressure points, its farmers. With a single trade move, Beijing can shake rural economies, shift global food flows, and put serious pressure on Washington. This isn't just about agriculture. This is economic warfare, and it's unfolding in real time. For decades, American farmers were confident in one thing: China needed U.S. soybeans. It was a $14 billion annual trade relationship, the largest agricultural export market for the U.S. But today, that certainty is crumbling. China is slashing U.S. soybean imports, ramping up domestic production, and turning to Brazil and Argentina. What's going on here isn't just crop rotation, it's geopolitical calculation. China understands that US farmers are not just economic actors, they are political ones. Many of them reside in swing states, and agricultural lobbies carry weight in Washington. But hitting soybeans, Beijing isn't just targeting trade, it's targeting America's political nerves. Let's break down the shift. In 2018, during Trump's trade war with China, Beijing imposed a 25% retaliatory tariff on US soybeans. That was the opening shot. Since then, China has aggressively diversified its supply chain. Brazilian soybean exports to China soared, while US volumes dwindled even after the Phase 1 deal attempted to reverse course. Now China is going further. It's investing in Brazilian logistics to secure long-term supply, boosting domestic soy farming through state subsidies, expanding protein substitution, encouraging feed manufacturers to rely less on soy altogether. All of these creates a long-term squeeze on US farmers without Beijing ever needing to mention tariffs again. This sudden shift isn't happening in a vacuum. Brazil's soybean industry has been quietly building capacity for years, expanding its cultivation area and upgrading its transport infrastructure. Between 2020 and 2024, Brazil increased its soybean planting by over 10% and significantly improved export routes through Chinese-financed port and railway projects. These investments have reduced delivery times and shipping costs, making Brazilian soybeans a more attractive and more strategic option for Chinese buyers. China has spent the past few years building deeper trade ties with Latin America, investing in Brazilian infrastructure, securing long-term contracts, and reducing its exposure to US agricultural risk. It's not just economics, it's leverage. If you're finding this breakdown helpful so far, hit that like button and share this with someone who still thinks the trade war is over. It's not. This is how it's shifting underground. The US soybean belt is feeling the heat. From Iowa to Illinois, farmers are facing lower prices, shrinking demand, and unstable future. And the impact doesn't stop there. Soybeans aren't just foods, they are animal feed, cooking oil, and biofuel. When China reduces demand, prices drop, profit margins tighten, and ripple effects hit rural banks, suppliers, and communities. What's worse, the US government's capacity to respond is limited. Subsidies can only go so far. You can't create a new China-sized buyer overnight, and while some countries like Egypt or the Netherlands import US soy, they don't come close to replacing China's volume. This leaves US farmers in limbo. Politically, it's a problem. Economically, it's a disaster waiting to happen. Let's be real, this isn't just trade. This is a lesson in modern warfare. In 2025, you don't need tanks to cause economic collapse. You just need to cancel your soybean order and let the market panic do the rest. What do you think? Is China playing fair here, or is this just part of the global game now? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your take on whether the US should retaliate adapt, or find a new strategy entirely. Here is the twist. Many of the US farmers being hurt by this policy shift were strong supporters of Washington's tough on China stance. They supported tariffs, restrictions on Chinese investment, and tighter trade rules. But geopolitics doesn't care about electoral loyalty, and Beijing knows this. That's why agricultural pressure works so well. It hits a symbolically patriotic, politically important demographic, and it does so quietly without the headlines that sanctions or military drills bring. Meanwhile, China positions itself globally as a reliable trade partner, pouring money into infrastructure and securing its food future while the US remains bogged down in domestic dysfunction. Brazil is the biggest winner in this shift. With favorable climate conditions, government support, and now massive Chinese investment, Brazilian soybean exports have surged to record highs. New rail lines funded with Chinese capital are speeding up delivery from Mato Grosso to Chinese ports. If this trend continues, Brazil could permanently displace the US as China's top soybean source, leaving American farmers out in the cold for good. This isn't temporary, it's structural. What we are seeing is part of a larger strategy by China to weaponize food security, not in a malicious way, but as a defensive tool. By controlling its supply chains and reducing exposure to US agricultural exports, Beijing is preparing for long-term economic competition. It's part of the same pattern we have seen with rare earths, semiconductors, and energy. Meanwhile, the US is realizing that economic dominance doesn't mean economic immunity. What makes this shift even more significant is the broader decoupling strategy that's emerging. China isn't just buying soybeans from Brazil, it's actively reducing reliance on US agriculture across the board. Corn, sorghum, and even pork exports from the US have seen similar declines, while Chinese demand for Latin America and Southeast Asia supply chains has grown. It's not about price alone. It's about leverage, insulation, and geopolitical autonomy in a multipolar world. What can the US do? It's not simple. Restoring trade ties with China won't happen easily, especially as tensions over Taiwan, TikTok, and tech continue to escalate. Washington might try to strengthen agricultural ties with other nations, but no single buyer can replace China. Some are calling for a full rethink of US agricultural policy, moving away from export dependence and building more resilient domestic systems. Others argue that geopolitical alignment, like forming closer food trade ties with India or Southeast Asia, might create a new axis of trade less reliant on China. But all of that takes time. For now, US farmers remain the collateral damage in a trade war that has no clear end. This isn't about soybeans, it's about leverage. China has found a subtle, powerful way to push back on US trade pressure. By slashing its soybean imports from America, it weakens a strategic sector without firing a single shot. It's smart, effective, and nearly invisible to the average voter. For the US, it's a wake-up call. Global trade isn't just about supply and demand. It's about a strategy, and the battleground is shifting fast. If you have made it this far, thanks for sticking with me. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on how global power struggles impact real economies, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching and stay sharp.